Governor Wes Moore's office is fighting back tonight about observations made by a communications professor on his State of the State speech delivered earlier this week. Gary Collins with our Spotlight on Maryland team has the details.
The State of the State address is a Maryland tradition that models the president's annual remarks to Congress. This year, some have questioned whether Governor Moore's speech was intended for Marylanders or the national stage. Governor Wes Moore delivered his third State of the State address on Wednesday.
We are being tested by a historic fiscal challenge, the likes that we have not seen since the Great Recession.
As Maryland is facing a projected $3 billion deficit, the governor placed some of the blame during his 48-minute speech on the Trump administration.
And if that wasn't enough, we are now being tested by a new administration in Washington that sows uncertainty and confusion and chaos.
Later that night, the governor took to primetime national news to double down on the president.
What we're seeing right now is just a level of chaos that is just staggering. That we're seeing a whole flurry of executive orders, some of which are performative, some of which are just deeply have no thought behind them.
Lines from the governor's State of the State address were also discussed.
I was struck by something you said in your State of the State address today, though. You said, if the policy decisions of the last few weeks are any preview, I fear that our most charitable expectations will be met with harsh realities. Have you seen anywhere where you could find common ground with the government, with the Trump administration, whether that's on these efforts by Elon Musk on government efficiency or what that looks like?
Well, I mean, we've been very clear that I will work with anybody. And if you look at our state, you know, we've introduced 26 pieces of legislation. Not only have we gone 26 for 26, but I've gone 26 for 26 bipartisan.
But I think it would be wise to put on the brakes a little bit for his presidential aspirations.
Dr. Richard Vatz, professor of rhetoric and communications, told Spotlight on Maryland the governor's past campaign focus.
We are a nation of patriots.
In 2024, for President Joe Biden, then Vice President Kamala Harris, seemed to have been continued in his address on Wednesday.
True patriots do not whine and complain. We put our heads down and we get to work.
He wants to say that Maryland is doing all the right things, but you've got to be able to say what is wrong in Maryland.
Spotlight on Maryland sent Governor Moore's office several questions on Saturday about the governor's State of the State address. After receiving a long written answer, the governor's spokesperson agreed to a recorded interview.
The governor has said he's not the leader of the resistance. He's the governor of Maryland.
David Turner, Governor Wes Moore's communications director, told Spotlight on Maryland the state's chief executive's focus on Washington isn't about politics, but governing.
There's a concern about what these policies are going to do for the state's economy.
Look, I mean, the governor spent a lot of time out of state last year, quite a bit of time. I mean, what were those estimates, and, you know, what's the response to critics who said that he was focused on campaigning more than governing?
I think that is a partisan attack, frankly, that is unfounded. The governor has a robust public schedule. I think you could probably see it underneath my eyes, frankly, how hard we work. And how hard he works.
Not a clear answer from the governor's spokesperson. Campaign finance reports show that Governor Moore raised nearly $4 million for his state campaign account last year, frequently from out-of-state donors.
He's been to the Eastern Shore nearly 30 times already in the first 2 years. I believe, I mean, I don't have the exact records, but I believe that's unprecedented. This is the kind of engagement he has with Maryland. Spotlight on Maryland will continue pressing government and elected officials on issues that matter to you and hold them accountable. I'm Gary Collins with Spotlight on Maryland.
And if you have a story you want our Spotlight on Maryland team to investigate, call 410-934-0837.